Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Well, what the heck is going on with you? I feel like I haven't seen you forever.
Not since this morning, this afternoon, or when I raced by you on the highway.
Well, that is true. That is true. I'm kind of excited. We are on location.
Yeah.
This is our first time going somewhere outside of our normal podcast studio.
Mm-hmm.
And we are here talking with a very well-known, highly respected individual in response to a TikTok video.
Mm.
So I'm not a big TikToker.
I'm not at all a TikToker, so I don't do.
I don't know.
TikTok
Is it really called TikToker?
No.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Well, what do you call them when you're not on or not on?
I don't know. But we can move on.
Okay, fair enough. No need to beat a dead horse. All right, so anyway, there was a very interesting TikTok video that went viral about a lady she's a lawyer, who was talking about why people get divorced.
Okay.
And she got all kinds of attention. It's I don't know, not very long. Well, I guess it can't be because it's a TikTok video.
Sure.
But anyway, she was talking about some of the various different reasons that people get divorced and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I'm not a very trusting person by nature.
Okay.
And so I came in search of an expert. And I found one. And as luck would have it, he is a close personal friend. So we have with us today a person who is a divorce attorney. He has been working here in North Texas for pushing 30 years, 25?
30
Okay. And he is arguably one of the most respected divorce attorneys in our county. In fact, here in North Texas, you start asking around and everybody knows him. Mm-hmm. And I have yet to hear somebody say anything negative, even those that go up against him.
Mm.
So let me introduce you to our guest today and my very good friend, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Phillips.
Thank you, Rod. I'll make my first disclaimer that I am not the female attorney who made a TikTok video.
Well, thank you for clearing that up.
My pleasure.
So anyway, would you kind of share your thoughts and opinions on what you think are reasons why people get divorced?
Sure. Falling in love is very easy. Staying there is extremely hard work. Is the first thing I would tell you. But something that you and I mentioned in preparing for this is the same mistake that everybody makes, and that is in the divorce context, we walk into a divorce or into a marriage or any relationship thinking that this person is as close as I am going to find to my perfect match, and I can change the rest of them to be my perfect match. And so they marry someone who is as close as they think they're going to get. And this is the mistake part of it, is that they think they can change somebody else. And if you'll think, the wisdom of the Serenity Prayer is massive. And the more I practice, the more I realize the wisdom contained in the Serenity Prayer.
I think I'm still working on knowing the difference. Because I feel like I try and change everything.
It's hard, and I find it in all situations in life that I deal with. Substance abuse is a great example. I've represented 6-time graduates of inpatient rehab from substance abuse, and they're still abusing their drug of choice today. And that's simply because they never wanted the change for themselves enough to go out and get the help they needed to make that change. And I've seen multiple people be sent to rehab by a loved one, and the loved one thinks, I can change them. If I give them the right tools, they will change. I'll put them in rehab, some of them as many as 6 times. And until somebody wants to change for their own benefit, not for their children, not for their spouse, not for mom and dad, when they truly want to effectuate a change for themselves, only then, with God's help, will they be able to make that change. And not everybody's successful, even though they want to. But they have a whole lot more chance of being successful than they do if it's forced upon them. So you go back to the marriage relationship and you look at, well, she's as close as I'm going to get, or he's as close as I'm going to get to perfect. Now, I don't like A, B, and C about this one, and I know it, but I can change that with time. And ultimately, it's trying to effectuate change in someone who doesn't want to change, doesn't think they need to change, and it becomes a control issue for the person trying to effectuate the change on the other. And up until probably a year ago, I would have told you that control was the number one cause of divorce. And today I would say it's trying to control the other person by trying to change the other person. So that's my basic thoughts on why relationships fail.
No, I think that's interesting. As you know, I'm in my 32nd year of marriage, and I met my wife when I was 17 and she was 18.
High school sweetheart.
And so, well, she was out of high school.
That's right.
I went for the slightly older woman.
It'll never work.
Right. And I say that, right? Like, I'll even tell students how long we've been married, but it's not advisable to be 17 and 18 years old and then going off getting married. My parents were very upset about it, or at least my mother was. And, the thinking was we would end up in divorce. But we did the hard work that you talked about that, most people probably don't do. And so, because they don't want to go that far, it becomes too much work. And so at least one of the people backs off.
Are you still doing the work today?
Well, of course, right? I mean, it never ends. It never ends, right? It does get a little bit easier, but it never ends. It's not going to go away.
Sure.
But I wonder, you talk about people changing or wanting to change the other person. Do you find that more with any particular age group when they get married? Like if they get married in their 30s, does it become harder for them because they're older and less likely to change anything?
I think most people fall into the trap of believing that they're doing the right thing for their children by staying together. And when you look at it from an outsider's perspective, the people that I see who are in lengthier relationships generally still have children under the age of 18. They've basically become roommates in their own house. They're living in separate bedrooms, and most people who come into me and say that they've not been intimate with their spouse in years or a year, and that they're sleeping in a separate bedroom, think that they're the only people in the world who are married who do that, and it's far more commonplace because they're not putting in the hard work that you and your wife are. And first, I should say congratulations to you because you are not the norm in today's society. Because I think the difference between when my parents got married in 1954 and the young people who are getting married today is the vows should change to we'll be together until I don't want to be with you anymore, and then we'll divorce, rather than until death do us part.
Well, I do think that's one of the things that I see. I don't know what you see, but I see that in society, right, there seems to be this drive towards, well, let's do a prenuptial agreement. Let's do the, like, it almost like, let's go into this with a thinking of we're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what a premarital agreement is.
Absolutely.
It's a pre-made divorce.
Yeah.
Well, we're also a throwaway society. We'll use it till it doesn't work anymore. We'll throw it away and go get us another one.
That's right. Yeah, I'll take you back to that older generation. Both my parents were children of the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy was born in 1921. You have to say 19 now.
Yeah. Yep.
My mother was born in 1923. They both grew up during the Depression, and as a child, we didn't throw anything away. And you can come to my house right now, and I'll show you a jar full of screws that I'm certain will find a use for someday. Whereas
Amen.
my children drink water out of a plastic bottle and junk it into the trash when they're through without a second thought. My parents would have kept that plastic bottle and found a use for it someday.
Or wouldn't have used a plastic bottle at all. It was be a glass. You drink water from the tap out of a glass.
Or from the neighbor's garden hose.
Well, yes, we did plenty of that.
I mean,
too.
even as a Gen X, right, I noticed that we throw a whole lot more things away than we used to. And, I don't know. I mean, I'm a student of history. I teach history. I read history. And a lot of the stuff I read suggests that things like extramarital affairs might not be any less common now than they were, back in the day, back in the 20s, 30s, in that time frame. But I don't know. Maybe there's less of a desire to work it out or something. I don't know.
Well,
or maybe people were just living miserably.
I don't know. And I grew up in a small town. My graduating class was 90 class members. That's 90. And out of the entire town, which I felt like I knew all of them, there was one boy who actually lived with his dad, and he was the only child of divorced parents that I had met until I graduated and moved away from there.
Okay.
It was just that uncommon or that unheard of.
Right.
And I think one of the many favors that the internet has brought to us is the fact that the world is just as crazy. There's just as many bad people percentage-wise as there were when I grew up. You just didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
And you hear about everything instantaneously. There's a camera everywhere you go. And George Orwell was just 40 years off the mark.
He was.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's some of your younger viewers who don't know who George is. But he wrote the book 1984 about Big Brother being the government installing cameras and watching your every move.
Yeah.
He predicted it would happen by 1984, and it's 2024. And they're everywhere.
They are.
I think my math's correct.
Everything
is 40, right?
Yeah. But definitely the internet has made it a smaller world. And so, that brings good things to us like Amazon or, the ability to buy things that might come from far off places. But it also brings a lot of the bad things to us as well, right? And my wife and I were talking about this the other day while we were walking and how pornography is just so available now to everybody. I mean, even to kids, because they access it through
the internet,
social media services, and it comes to them. It gets pushed out. Whereas, when I was a child, if you wanted something like that, you had to go somewhere and get it. And it was difficult, right? If you weren't 18, you couldn't get it. It was difficult, right? Right. But now it just comes to you, and it's difficult to keep that stuff from happening.
Now you had to find a friend whose dad had it,
and then steal it.
Him to steal it from his dad before you could get it. And today, kids grow up with that stuff in their pocket on the internet.
Yeah. So do you see? more difficulties with marriages moving towards their end because of like the internet and a lot of this stuff?
Yes, the internet has been a boon for divorce work. It's just a treasure trove of evidence because people tend to live their lives out on social media. The internet has also brought about a just meteoric rise in instant gratification, and you can get everything delivered to your doorstep sometimes in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
I was almost amazed, and I can't remember what it was, but I think I was in a court proceeding at another attorney's office, and someone ordered something off the internet and had it delivered there for me the same day.
Yeah, I've done that at my house. It's amazing.
I hate technology, and technology hates me. I want to be upfront with that. And I think I'm the only person on the planet who doesn't have an Amazon account knowingly, but I've found out that I do, in fact, have an Amazon account. I don't know how I got it, but I told someone on the phone once I was trying to order something, which is rare that anyone even answers their phone because of the internet.
Right. Yeah. You get an automated service.
Yes, and the social aspects of living are just totally erased. There are children who can't carry on a conversation without a keyboard. Well, how are you going to know if the other keyboard is right for you in a marriage? And how do you know anything at all about who's operating that other keyboard? And ultimately, I used to think it was odd that people would actually resort to dating on a computer website, and I would think that probably 50% or better of the divorces that I'm seeing in 2024 are people who met on the internet.
Wow.
I know that when we were doing the divorce group, and people were coming in talking about different things about their marriage falling apart. One of the number one, I don't know if it was number one, I have no stats to back it up, but it felt like it was the most common reason that people were divorcing is because their spouse met a middle school or a high school friend on Facebook, connected, started up a conversation that led to infidelity, and ta-da, they left their spouse, or they were in divorce group because their soon-to-be ex went with somebody they dated or knew in high school, and ta-da, they're together now.
You see, and that's the difference, because back when I was in my teens and 20s, we had hit our insecurities until the alcohol lets you be uninhibited. Nowadays, you got a keyboard that lets you be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, and you don't even have to be you. You can be somebody or something else, and
you don't have to present a driver's license, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. It's there 24 hours a day, and you can fall in love with whoever or whatever is out there on the other end.
And you may not know what that other thing is.
It is very dangerous.
There's all that phishing and all that stuff. I do a little bit of tech, but I don't know all these things. But I have experienced. I know some people who have experienced phishing and been on the receiving end of that. Being scammed through that process, and of course I have people that I know and family that have been divorced and in those kinds of same situations. So I met my wife in my driveway. So I don't know about the dating thing. I wouldn't know how to do it. I hope to God that I never have to.
I tried it.
Do any of that,
and it was horrible.
Was it the internet dating? Or
it was.
Well, you liked
no, I didn't try running over my driveway. It was, because I met Eric's mom. We both worked at Walmart, and I always joke, that was the one thing I tried to return to Walmart that they wouldn't take. But no, when I went through the divorce, Match.com. And a lot of people were doing, Plenty of Fish and all these different websites. And a good buddy of mine, you might remember my friend Charles. Anyway, he got robbed. He got beat up and robbed by a gal on their second date.
Wow.
And rephrase that. She didn't beat him up, but when he dropped her off hey, just drop me off here, then two thugs jumped in the car and kidnapped him, took him to the ATM, and made him drain his ATM at 3 different locations.
She was the setup.
Yeah.
She just wanted to change him.
I guess. Well,
thugs that were going to
literally take his change. But so anyway, I think, yes, I would agree that the internet has redefined how we meet people, how we interact with people. And I don't know that when it comes to relationships, it's all that good.
I'm a very big music fan of all genres, and Brad Paisley has an excellent song out. I don't know when it came out, about you can be whoever you want to be on the internet. Don't recall, but there's a lot of truth in what I would consider a song that was written on a comical premise, but it's nothing but truthfulness.
Well, you mentioned early on about change and how the wife thinks she'll change the husband thinks he'll change the wife. That's actually kind of leads into what the lady on the TikTok video was saying. The number one reason she said people are getting divorced is because, it's mostly women, and women are tired of trying to change the man.
Okay. And just so you know, and your listeners know, I have not seen the TikTok video. I heard about it just a couple of minutes before we got started behind these microphones. And
I have not seen it either.
That does not shock me, and I think there's a great deal of truth. I don't think it's limited, though, just to women trying to change the man, because I think it is a non-discriminatory act.
Yeah.
It affects men as much as it does women, and there are certain personality types that are just simply more controlling than others.
Oh, true. Because, in all essence, even though Eric's mom filed for divorce, I was tired of her actions. I was tired of her behaviors, and they weren't changing. They were continuing to de-evolve. So
there's that word again, change.
Yeah. Well.
And even though you weren't trying to effectuate the change, you were hoping for it.
That is true. That is true, because the idea was that when you got married, things were pretty decent.
Sure.
And the longer you were married, as career takes off, as kids join the family, maybe part of that change is a change in what you're wanting in the relationship.
I'm going to take a little gamble here with what I'm telling you, Rod.
Okay.
Is that I think Scott and his bride put in place at some point, either before their marriage or sometime shortly after their marriage, a method by which they could identify their problems and a method by which they could change their problems into something positive. And so, was that ever done in your relationship with your bride of 32 years?
So, yeah, we had conversations, and it's hard to believe, right? So when we got married, I was 19 and she was 20. And, we had discussions that adults don't have, right? People who are getting married in their 30s about, what we wanted. And we both came from families that were, parents were divorced and had different difficulties in those areas. But we didn't want that. We wanted to make sure that we didn't have that if we got together, it was going to be to the end, to the end of our lives, one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that would come naturally. And so we did have some discussions about how we wanted to do raise children and how certain things that we thought were important. We went through marriage counseling. We got married in a Christian church, but I think that set up a lot for us. And we really just wanted to build a life together. And so we didn't want to be separated. And, it doesn't mean that we didn't have our challenges. When we came to different times where we could have easily shifted into a separation or a divorce, but
did you have a preconceived notion on how you would handle the biggest challenges or the smaller challenges?
I mean, our thing was for us, I guess it was simple. We just said we would always communicate, we would always talk, and we'd always tell the truth.
Communication.
Yeah, it's big.
Yes. Communication is bigger than you give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen relationships where the truth was the worst thing you could say because it was the truth about the other party.
Right.
And sometimes it's knowing when not to communicate
mm-hmm.
the truth and when to communicate the truth.
Sure.
But you kept open communications,
yes.
which is what helped guide you through the rough spots. Whereas I find there's a lot, typically men, women want to talk about everything. They want to talk about the details.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not seen it, the longest running one-man play on Broadway is called Defending the Caveman. It will teach you more about the differences in men and women than 20 years of college will teach you.
Wow.
It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I was fortunate enough to see it live perhaps 20 or so years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be able to communicate. Women are better about thinking they're communicating than men.
Right.
A lot of men will just shut down when it's not going in the direction they want for fear of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And when you're not communicating at all, it is not getting you anywhere. You're just postponing the emotions to a later time, and they're probably going to build during that break and only get worse. And sadly, I'm speaking to you from recent experience because I am one who, if you fail to reason with me, I will stop communicating with you altogether because it's pointless
Sure.
at that point in time. However, I've also learned that is absolutely wrong in certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the difference, if I could teach that, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
Well, I will agree with you about communication because that was something that Eric's mom and I really struggled with, but Sherry and I both learned through divorce the value of that. And that has, we try. I think she's better at it. Like you said, women are better at it than men, and she's better at it than I am, but we still work together so that if you are angry, you can work through that. Well, what are you angry about? Why are you upset? With, the idea that you're not going to go through divorce again.
Yeah.
I think the other thing for me, and maybe I want to test this theory out just a little bit, is the idea of selfishness, right? Like, I think that humans just generally are selfish, and we're a consumer society. We want our stuff, and we want it for us, and we want it delivered today when we order it an hour ago. We want things that we want. And I think that's part of the change thing, is that we want that person to be who we want them to be, or what we want them to be. And so we try to change that person into that. And I think that for my wife and I, that's one of the things that we focused on, is that it's not just about me, right? I need to be thinking about her, and she thinks about me. And so there's a we thing going on there that's a little bit different. And it can be hard at times, right? Because I want my thing. I want what I want. And she may not want that. And so that can be tough, right? But I feel like some of the marriages I've seen that have fallen apart, there's it gets to that point where there's a selfishness that at least one of the parties just doesn't want to go forward. They want what they want, and it's not happening, so we're out.
I think I'm guessing, but 90% of those situations involve emotional needs and emotional selfishness, because I am not having my needs met, and it doesn't matter what you say or what you do, you are not considering my emotions.
Right.
And by making that statement, I'm necessarily telling the person I'm communicating with that I'm damn sure not considering your emotions either.
Sure.
And until you can approach a problem in any relationship and understand how it makes the other party feel, you're never going to get to a point of compromise or resolution whatsoever. And it is so very difficult when you're just royally pissed off.
Sure.
To think of how your actions affect the person you're dealing with.
Right.
And it is extremely hard to get to that point of reasonableness, because you can't be reasonable when your emotions are controlling your thought processes. Right. There's a book called The Art of War. I don't know how many centuries ago it was written, but it stands for the proposition that once you let your emotions rule your reason, you have lost. Mm-hmm. And I find that 99% of my work in the divorce world is getting people past the emotional struggle of admitting that they have failed in a relationship, because nobody wants to do that. It's too hurtful to your pride, and we all have egos. But I have got to get you past the emotional thinking and get you to be reasonable so that you can make a good business decision for yourself. And that's why most divorces in Collin County last on average 6 to 9 months. It's 6 months of getting past the emotions and 3 months of doing the legal work.
Well, so if to kind of bring us back to where we started, if I understand you correctly, that trying to, at a level of control seems to be a factor in why people get divorced. That they want to control the other person and they want to change the other person. And you kind of agree with the lady from the TikTok video that you get tired of trying to make the person change into what you want them to be. So therefore, cut bait, file for divorce, move on.
That's right. And it could be control in the form of how much I deposit to your bank account, how much you get to spend out of that bank account. It could be control in not allowing you to get a word in edgewise, because I won't shut up long enough for you to give me your opinion on the matter. And control is not just controlling physical behavior, it's controlling emotional attitudes, it's controlling finances, it's controlling all aspects of a person's life, and there's different manners and means in which you can assert your control over other people.
So surrender control, communicate better, and accept the person for who they are, not for who you want them to be. And your chances of being 32 years or more, or my mom and dad celebrated 64 years of marriage before my dad passed away. And then you don't have to go through divorce like I did, and I won't get to be your client.
I think that's a really good start. I think that's a really good start.
All right. Well, then we will end it there. Charlie, thank you so much for your time. It has been, as always, a treasure for me to visit with you and getting your insight and input on how we can build and maintain healthier relationships.
Appreciate it.
Well, and I do have to share this with you. This show goes by so much quicker on the talking end.
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, then until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
Bye.
Bye-bye.